chapter. This is the last chapter of the Bhakti series, right? The first 6 chapters, chapter number 1 to 6, they are Karma Yoga. Okay, they try to teach us Karma Yoga. Although in Karma Yoga also there is continuous reference to Bhakti. And chapter 12 is the last, from 7 to 12. It is all about Bhakti, which is, I told you long back, it is sandwiched between Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga because it is the most precious. So, you know, you put the jam or the cheese or the butter, which is the most important part of the sandwich, in the middle. And then we have the bread on the two sides. Similarly, we have the Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga on the two sides. In the middle, sandwiched is the Bhakti Yoga. Also, I've given you the example of how when a king is going, or suppose the prime minister is coming, then what happens is, in front of him also there'll be all guards and everything, and behind him also there'll be all those guards and all, right? Similarly, the Bhakti Yoga, before also there are a lot of shlokas which tells us about Karma Yoga, and after the Bhakti Yoga also we have shlokas about Jnana Yoga. Okay, now let's look at how the chapter 12 begins. Actually, in chapter 11, if you all remember, in chapter 11, okay, Ritika has also joined. Hare Krishna, Ritika. Misha, I think I already greeted you. Yeah. So in chapter 11, we saw how Lord Krishna shows his universal form. If you remember, we had seen what was the emotion of Arjuna when he requested him to show the form. Was he proud or was he humble? Ara, what was Krishna's emotion when he tried to show his universal form?
Ma'am, he was proud.
No, what was the emotion of Arjuna when he requested Krishna? Did he say, show me your form? Or did he say, if I deserve it?
Ma'am, he was humble. He was humble.
Arjuna was humble. Ara, you seem to have caught a cold. So Arjuna,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah, Arjuna was very humble when he requested Krishna, and Krishna first chose universal form. And when Krishna shows universal form, what is Arjuna's feeling? What does he feel? Krishna, what does Arjuna say when he sees so many heads, mouths, faces, and then, you know, there's fire coming out of the mouths, all the Kauravas are entering and they're being crushed by the teeth of Krishna. And then he sees anything he wants, he's able to see inside the universal form. He sees all the different demigods are all praying to Krishna. And, you know, he sees all the planetary systems and everything inside Krishna. So, you know, when he sees, and everywhere, you know, there's infinity around him. He's even getting all the brilliance, the light is like thousands of suns. And what does he feel, Arjuna, when he sees that universal form? He feels afraid. He's afraid and he's terrified and he's also astonished. Okay, that is the feeling of Arjuna. And then Arjuna will express in chapter 11 that I like your two-handed form. And that is actually the original form. Do you remember, children? I told you that Krishna's original form in the Gita, he says that my original form is the two-handed personal form called Shyam Sundar. The two-handed personal form of Krishna is called the Shyam Sundar form. And that is his original form. Although he has so many, he had the entire material world is Krishna only. Everything is Krishna, but he also has a personal form. In fact, that is his original form. Okay. And then we have in chapter 12, Arjuna is so attached to his original form that he wants to clarify his position. Again, some doubt comes in his mind. Who is a real Bhakta? Is it someone who thinks of Krishna as, you know, the impersonal, the energy which exists everywhere? Or is it someone who thinks that Krishna is there in everyone's hearts and that, you know, the Vaikuntha form, which is four-handed. If you go to Guruvayur temple, you will see Krishna in the four-handed form also. So in Vaikuntha, Krishna has four-handed form. Or is it the two-handed? You know, how should we approach? What is the best way of devotional service? That's what Arjuna will ask. Okay. So in the chapter 12, these are the 3 sections. I want you to try and remember these things so that later on, you know, maybe again after some years you feel like studying Gita, you must remember in your mind how these, chapters are divided. For example, in chapter 12, from 1 to 7, it is bhakti over impersonalism. Impersonalism means when you see God as with, not like a person, you say, oh, God is all the energy. That is an impersonal form of devotion. And then here in first 7 verses, Krishna will say very clearly that bhakti for the personal form is above or over the impersonal form of devotion. Although impersonal form of devotion also reaches you to Krishna only ultimately, but still he says that the bhakti of the two-handed form, when you worship the personal form, that is above. Then he says that what are the stages? He will begin from highest. Okay, Krishna will first say what is the highest form of devotion. Then he will say, oh, if you can't do that, then what should you do? Even that you can't do, then what you can do? So he will come lower and lower, and he will try to tell you at least do this, the lowest form of devotion. And then finally he talks about what are the qualities of a devotee which makes someone dear to Krishna. And if you become dear to Krishna, Krishna will, the devotees are very important for Krishna. He listens to devotees. The devotees' words are very important. He follows the devotees' words. You will see in the Mahabharata stories of Bhagavatam how Krishna gives a lot of importance to the words of bhaktas. Okay, so what are the three divisions of chapter 12? Arya, can you just tell us in chapter 12 what are the three things that we'll be learning?
Bhakti is the best progressive stage of devotion and the qualities that endure unto Krishna.
That's right. Okay. So bhakti is the best. How do we know that? Krishna says that the devotees are the best. Worshipper of impersonal feature, he will describe that in the next part of this 12.1 to 7. And then finally, he will say that, he says that Krishna personally will come and save the devotees. You know, the impersonalists who will do meditation and who will think of Krishna as being an energy, and they'll think that a God is everywhere, he's an energy, and they'll meditate upon him. Such people also, they get Krishna, but it's very difficult. They have to strive on their own and they have to work very hard. They have to try and overcome their senses and all. But devotees, when they love Krishna, Krishna will come and grab them in with him. By himself, he will deliver them. Krishna will personally come and help us. Once we become a Krishna devotee, Krishna will himself come and help us. So let's start with the first verse. When Arjuna says, Evam satata yukta ye bhakta swam paryupasate ye chapi aksharam avyaktam tesham ke yoga vittama. So Arjuna is saying, which is considered to be more perfect? Chapter begins with Arjuna's doubt. What is more perfect? Should we be doing devotional service and be like a bhakta, praying to the devotional, praying to the two-handed form? Or is it the impersonal Brahman? Impersonal Brahman is the energy. Is that the better way to pray to Krishna? So, if you remember, children, long back, I had taught you about the 3 stages of God realization. One is Brahman. That is the basic, it is the first stage when you think, okay, there is a God. I think, yes, there is God. He is like an energy, and the whole energy of the universe is actually like Krishna. Is the God. You don't even use the word Krishna. You'll find many people, they will not say God. They will say, there is some energy which is controlling the world. That is the God realization form of Brahman, when you at least think that, okay, the world is controlled by some energy. And then they're not able to think of God as a person. The second, when he will be a little higher, God realization becomes a little higher for him. He thinks, okay, God is there inside everything and everyone. And there is harmony and oneness. You start feeling, okay, everybody is actually same, no? There is some, there's something uniformity in everyone. So God is there as a Paramatma in everyone's heart. And then he starts understanding about Paramatma form, or the Vaikuntha, in Vaikuntha, this 4-handed form. And the highest form of devotion is when you understand that Krishna is God. There is a person called Krishna who is God, who is a person. That is the highest form when you realize that there is a God who is a person. Okay. So here we have Arjuna's question about the 2 classes of people. One who is a personalist, who can think of God as a person, and the second is the impersonalist, who thinks of God as energy. So in chapter 2, we had seen, see, in every chapter, Krishna has been talking about how a personal form of the Lord is most important. So in chapter 2, he says that the living entity, we are not a body. He says we are all spiritual spark. Okay, and in chapter 6, he says that, again, he says Bhakti Yoga is the best. In chapter 7 also, he says that every living entity, the Atma, is a part and parcel of God. We are all part and parcel of God. And in chapter 8, remember, the final exam, I had explained to you about the final exam of the human being, which is, what is the final exam? Anybody remembers? What is the final exam which we forget about? Nisha? In chapter 8, we spoke about the final exam of the human being. Yes. What is that? I can't hear you. Anushka, were you there when I was teaching chapter 8? Arya, were you there? Maithili, Arav? Anybody,
No.
anybody remembers? The final exam is death. In chapter 8, Krishna says that it is surprising. You can see that everybody ultimately dies, but still we don't even, we don't even think that death will certainly come to us. And what should we do when death comes to us? We should try and remember Krishna so that we don't have to come back to this Dukhalayam or this material world. We can reach the spiritual world. So, so this is what we can see ultimately how Krishna is again going to say that devotional service is the best. So, Shri Bhagavan Vacha. What is the Lord saying? Arav, can you read what the Supreme Personality of Godhead is saying? It's both in the pink and the black side.
Yes, ma'am. The blessed Lord said, "He whose mind is fixed on my personal form, always engaged in worshipping me with great and transcendental faith, is considered to by is considered by me to be most perfect."
That's right.
The, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Those who fix their minds on my personal form and are always engaged in worshipping me with great and transcendental faith are considered to be most perfect."
Yeah, same thing on both the sides. So actually, it is clearly the Lord is declaring. As soon as Arjuna is asking, is it good to be Bhakta of Krishna in the two-handed form or the in-person form? Krishna will immediately give the answer. Look, if your mind is fixed on my personal form, that means that is the most perfect form of bhakti. Okay. So here we are seeing that Lord Krishna says that if you're in devotional service, if you're able to do bhakti in different ways, today we will see what are the different ways that you can do bhakti, then that is the most perfect. Why is it the most perfect? Because if you're able to fix your mind on one thing, God's personal form, there is no confusion and no worry at all. You worship Krishna with great and transcendental faith, and you're continuously worshiping him. Even your work becomes worship. So actions in Krishna consciousness, the Krishna conscious activities are not material. As soon as you pray to Krishna and you offer what you're doing to Krishna, that is no longer material. That means you don't even get the good or the bad results of it. You don't have to bear it. You become free from it. So a pure devotee is in full samadhi. He's constantly in samadhi because his mind is constantly engaged. He's chanting in his mind or he's hearing. You constantly try to listen to the Gita and Bhagavatam. Even if you're cooking, you put it for prasadam. Even if you're shopping, you offer whatever you're buying also to Krishna, or you're washing your temple area, or you're washing the dishes after whatever you're doing. Or for you students, you all are students, or even if you're studying, everything as you're studying also you're saying, I'm offering this to you, O Krishna. So whatever you do, you're doing your homework. Even for a single moment, you're not wasting. You're constantly in devotional service. That is the highest form. But those who fully worship the unmanifested, there are many people, you find even many whole religions who will say, no, there is no form of the God. The unmanifested they are worshipping. That which lies beyond the perception of senses. They cannot see the form of Krishna in their mind, and they will think of unmanifested form. They think of God as all pervading and inconceivable, fixed, unmovable. This is impersonal conception. And then, what such people will do? They will control their senses. And they will also be behaving very equally to all. And such persons who are always doing good for everybody, they also achieve Krishna. So in verse 12.3 and 4, he says, first in 2, he says, Bhakti is the best. But then he says, okay, but those who are worshipping or thinking of the impersonal form of Krishna, they also will come to me. Okay, so here he's saying that what are impersonalists? They look at God as unmanifested. The senses cannot perceive God. God is all pervading. That is, he's everywhere. He is unconceivable. You cannot even think of him. He is unchanging, fixed, immovable. How will they worship such an unmanifested God? They will control their senses. They will be equally disposed to all. They will, they will engage in doing good things for everybody. They think that let me do good things. And then this is very difficult for common people to practice this form, okay, where you have to ultimately surrender. So here you can see in 12.5, Krishna says that for those whose mind is attached to the unmanifested impersonal feature, he will clearly say that it is very troublesome. He says klesho means troublesome. Again he says dukkham. See in the third line, dukkham. And klesho, troublesome. So Krishna says that, just thinking of God as energy is very difficult. It is troublesome and it is also very full of, it is sad. It becomes the progress becomes difficult. That's what he means. Okay. So this is the same thing which I just explained. Let us try and understand clearly what kind of people look at God as no form. And what they're called impersonalists. I want all of you to understand what is impersonalist and what is personalist today. Impersonalist is that person who thinks of God as energy, who is formless. So let's look at the differences. The impersonalist will meditate on a formless God. He doesn't have any form to think of. He will think of God as energy or existing everywhere. What is the feature of doing that when you meditate on formless? Krishna says it is very difficult. For us, we are embodied, right? Embodied means we have a body. We are spirit soul, but we are inside a body. So in this form which we are now in, it is difficult for us to meditate on a formless God. Whereas a person, yes, who has a doubt? Misha, you're asking something? Okay. So Ritika has also joined today again. I think Ritika joined and left in between. So the personalist will be able to meditate on a deity. There are so many beautiful paintings which the devotees have painted. There are statues which devotees have created, or they have, done it in the basis of somebody's imagination. They have created that deity in so many temples you find. So those you're able to meditate on that form, that is more easy because we have bodies in this form of ours. Meditating on the personal form of Krishna is easy. Okay. Second point is those who are impersonalists, they have to restrict their senses. You know what they think they should do? They should not smell. They should not be after smelling good things, or they should not be after hearing good things. They should be keeping all. Some of them say don't listen to music, and they'll say don't look at beautiful, go after beautiful things, and don't should not be behind your senses. But instead, what do the devotees do? Personalists, they will engage the senses for God. They will like to listen to the God stories. They will like to see the beautiful images of God. They will speak about God. They will make lovely, tasty prasadam. Of course, vegetarian only for Krishna, because it's considered to be merciful. When you eat vegetarian food, you are becoming merciful. You don't want to kill animals just for your tongue. So you become merciful, and then you stop eating non-veg. Once you know that it is cruel to kill animals and eat them, and then they make tasty vegetarian nice food and they offer it and they have it like prasadam. So they actually enjoy, they use all their senses. They sing beautiful songs, they listen to beautiful kirtans, they use all their senses for Krishna. Whereas impersonalists, they will restrict their senses. And then look at the third point. The impersonalists, they try to understand Brahman through the Upanishads. They will learn Sanskrit, they will start trying to read the Vedas, and they try to understand Krishna as God, as no, without any feeling, it's just an energy like that. Whereas those who understand Krishna, what do? They simply keep chanting Hare Krishna, they think of the stories of Krishna, they follow a guru, they offer their obeisances to the deity, they'll just pray to the deity of Krishna, they will hear about Krishna's stories, they will eat prasadam. Impersonalists, for them, it is Krishna saying that's very long and difficult to reach, Krishna. Whereas for the personalist, it's very natural. You just become a bhakta, naturally you can reach Krishna. It's troublesome, impersonalism. Whereas if you become a bhakta, then your miseries become mitigated, become less. All your miseries, you won't feel the sadness and miseries, because you're just understanding that Krishna is giving me all this, or it's my own karma that I'm getting it. And you don't feel, irritated or worried, or you don't feel anything when difficulties come. Everything gets mitigated, means become less. But for impersonalists, they have to depend on their own. This is the most important. Impersonalists, they have to depend on their own endeavor. They have to struggle themselves. But if you become a devotee of Krishna and you call out to the personal form of Krishna, he will deliver you. He will come, because Krishna himself is recommending this process, because Krishna is our like a father, out of his paternal love for us. And because of his costless mercy, you can see in this picture, Krishna will himself come in some form or the other, and he will protect you. That's for sure. Krishna gives guarantee that if you are able to be a bhakta of Krishna, he will protect you. That's the guarantee of the Bhagavad Gita. Okay? How do you compare Bhagavan and the Brahman form of Krishna? That is also the Krishna's form. Brahman has nirguna, no qualities. The Bhagavan is saguna, full of qualities, endless qualities. Even if all the mouths of the Ananta Shesh, which has 1,000-headed form snake, they will all talk about the qualities of Krishna. It still never ends. From beginning of time, he's saying the qualities of Krishna, but there are new qualities. It's endless, so many qualities. We learn about the 6 main ones. Remember, power, richness, beauty, knowledge, knowing of the future, and there's one more. And the renunciation. Krishna is the most renowned. So we have those 6 main qualities which make him Bhagavan. The Brahman is inconceivable, you can't imagine, but for Bhagavan, he possesses many inconceivable potencies. He has a lot of powers which we can't imagine. We can imagine him, but we cannot imagine his powers. Brahman is all-pervading. Bhagavan is also all-pervading by his energy. So in Bhagavan, we look at Krishna as a person, but we know that his energy is everywhere, and we know that he is the super soul. Now, Brahman, what happens? They have a risk of not realizing absolute truth at the end. Sometimes what happens, somebody who's meditating, they'll be disturbed, or they are controlling their senses, but then they suddenly think of ice cream, or they will think of some beautiful woman. So they will get distracted, and it's difficult for them to reach Krishna. There is risk. But in bhakti, success is guaranteed, because nothing is lost. Even if you feel like doing something, you will dedicate it with your heart and soul to Krishna, and you continue in your devotional service. The 7th point is that you may realize Sat. Please join again, children. You may realize truth and knowledge, but in the Bhagavan form, there are all 3: truth, knowledge, and also bliss. So there is Anand when you become a bhakt. There is also Anand. So can somebody help me to understand? Ritika, can you just once more quickly say the difference between impersonalist and devotee? You understood? Mainly in chapter 12, that's what we are learning.
The comparison between the impersonalist and the devotee. Impersonalists meditate on formless, control their senses. Upanishad means Sanskrit, troublesome, and no relationship with the Lord, and depends on their own endeavor and partial realization. And a pure devotee of Krishna meditates on deity form, engage their senses. They are easy and natural. They have intimate relationship. Krishna delivers the devotee, and they have complete realization. And they also do Navavidhi Bhakti.
Yes, good, good. I'm just coming to that. Good, that's very nice, Ritika. Did you all understand difference between impersonalist and bhakta? Everybody understood? Maitri, did you understand? Okay. So this is the Navavidhi Bhakti, which Ritika was just talking about. There are 9 ways you can do bhakti. Shravanam, Kirtanam. This is a shloka from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Mandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atma Nivedanam. These are the 9 forms. What are they? Let's take a look at them. What are they? Okay, I think I've made another slide for it, which are the 9 Navavedhi Bhakti. We'll come to that. So here we have, in this shloka, Krishna is saying that in 6 and 7. Maithili, can you read the meaning given in blue here? For one who worships me.
Yes, ma'am. For one who worship me giving up all his activities unto me and begin devotee to me without divisions, engaged in devotional service, devotional service, and always meditating upon me, who has fixed the mind upon me, O son of Pritha. For him I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death.
Yes. So Krishna is saying that, yeah, this one should have come here. Krishna is saying that for the person who will worship me, give up all activities for me, and who is continuously engaging and meditating upon him, on Krishna, he will definitely help us to become free from the big ocean of birth and death. Okay. And this Navavida Bhakti, the examples are given from Ramayana. Shravanam, example is Lord Hanuman. He always, they say wherever you speak about Rama, he will reach there. He will be listening full attention. For Kirtanam, example is Love, Kush and Valmiki in Ramayana. They're constantly singing. Love and Kush the whole time, they'll be singing and singing about Rama's life and his stories. That's called Kirtanam. Also, chanting comes in Kirtanam. Okay. Smaranam, we know the example of Sita Devi. When she was, especially in Lanka, she was all the time thinking of Rama. So much so that when Hanuman came to Lanka, I hope all of you know Ramayana story. When Hanuman came to Lanka, when he saw Sita, she had, features almost like Ram, because she was continuously thinking, but she almost had, she was looking like Ram. There were features which were similar to Ram. That's because of constant thinking of Ram. Smaranam. Pada Sevanam example is Bharat, Rama's brother. You know the story of Ramayana? When Rama was sent to the forest, Bharat was asked to become king, but he did not want to become the king. So what did he do? He said, I will take your slippers. And he takes Rama's slippers, and every day he does puja. So Pada Sevanam is when you're doing puja to the Lord's feet and you're constantly thinking of the Lord's feet. That is Pada Sevanam. Archanam example is Shabari. You know the story of Shabari? Shabari, she is constantly, she wants to give some fruit, what is that? Jamun. And she will be, they say that she's tasting and making it juta, but as she doesn't become juta because she is fully got Ram, 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 Ram. She's chanting, and even inside her there is only Ram. It's like Ram only is having. There's nothing inside and outside her. Everywhere it is Ram. And she's constantly offering those, so that when you offer something to deity or you offer some food, that's called Archanam. Vandanam is like Vibhishan, constantly praising. When Hanuman, and when he reached, he saw Vibhishan's house is full of Ram, Ram, Ram written. And once when Ravan came and said, how come your house, what is this? You've written Ram, Ram everywhere. He says, no, actually it means Ravan plus Mandodari. That's why I'm, He just tries to escape like that. But actually, he is constantly in his mind praising the Lord. He knows that Ram is Lord. Okay? So Ram and Krishna, they are all forms of same, Krishna only. So that is Vibhishan is one example. Dasyam example is Lakshman. Lakshman is constantly doing service. He never stops. Even the night, he doesn't sleep. Day and night he wants to serve Ram. Atma Nivedan, the best example is Jatayu. If you have seen if you have if you know the story of Ramayana, you will know that Jatayu is a bird. He tries to save in the service to Ram. He tries to save Sita when Ravan was capturing Sita. He knew that Ravan is so powerful and surely he is going to kill me. He knew that, but he sacrifices his life for Ram because he knows that as he's fighting, there'll be some traces which he can leave, and he gives up his life in the service of Ram. That is Atma Nivedana, right? So there are many ways of offering obeisance, and I spoke about this pranam. See, in this picture, you can see there is Dandavat. You become a stick and you lie down. That is Dandavat. Panchang is when you fold your knees. 5 of your body parts will be touching the ground. That is Panchang Namaskar. Sharanagati is when you raise your hand. That's what when we do Hare Krishna, like as if you're drowning in this world of miseries. When you do Sharanagati, you put both your hands as if you're drowning and saying, save me, save me. That is called Sharanagati Namaskaram. These are the 3 main types of Namaskars. Now, in the Kali Yuga, what is prescribed form of worship? It is. Can somebody explain this slide? Anybody remembers this slide? What are the types of worship in the 4 yugas? Arya, can you explain this? Are you able to understand?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you understand?
So the first prescribed dharma, the first yuga is the Satya Yuga. It's like the meditation for like Lord Vishnu. And for Treta Yuga, it's like for performing sacrifices. And the third yuga is a Dwapara Yuga, which is like an elaborate temple worship. And the fourth one is the Kali Yuga, where it's like chanting the holy names of the Supreme Lord.
That's right. So now we are in Kali Yuga, and our duty is the way to reach Krishna is by chanting the names. So here we have some funny cartoons. Sometimes, people say that, okay, let me go to the mountains. They actually don't want to be in their family life, and they're fed up of all the material world. People are troubling them. Nobody is giving them peace of mind. Let me go to the mountain and focus on the Brahman. And what happens over there? It's too cold. They realize that it's too cold. Then suppose the person sannyasi will say, I'm going to go to the deserts and I'm going to focus on Brahman. But then it's too hot over there, right? After some time, he'll realize it's very hot. Let me go to the forest and there I'm going to meditate on the God. And then suddenly he's so scared. Oh my God, a tiger may attack me. So what should we do in the Kali Yuga instead of trying to run away? In this Kali Yuga, you can go on the streets and chant the names of the Lord. You can talk to your friends or devotees. You have devotee association, or simply sit at home and chant the names of the Lord. So we have this very famous prayer, shloka from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It says, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nameva Kevalam. Only the Hari's name. Kalau Nasi, Eva Nasi, Eva Nasi. There's no other way. Gatir Anyatha. No other way other than chanting. In Kali Yuga, there is no other way except chanting the holy name of Krishna for us to reach Krishna. In our mind, you keep chanting where you're doing something, even if you're inside a very boring class,